Okay, so we're doing a review over our sections 8.1 through 8.3, specifically focusing on what's going to be on your test tomorrow, starting with examples of product of powers and quotient of powers. All right, so we're going to go around the room. We're split up into 4 teams. When I ask your team a question, if you get it right, you get to choose if you're going to give or keep the points behind one of those cards. Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, we'll say Darcy's team is Team 1, Team 2, Juvenette, Team 3, Kyla, Team 4, Maddox. All right, and yeah, let's get going. All right, so product of powers. Darcy, what'd you put for product of powers?
3 to the 2nd times 3 to the 3rd.
Very good. And I had something similar. Actually, very similar. I said 3 to the 2nd times 3 to the 2nd. And then if we were to solve it, what would it be solved? So, Darcy, what would yours have been?
It would be 3 to the 5th power.
Yeah, 3 to the 5th power. And mine would have been 3 to the 4th power. All right, so that's very good. So that's product of powers. All right, so let's go around. We'll do each property, and then we'll come back to the points. So now we need quotient of powers. We need quotient of powers. Give me an example. We go to Team 2. Give me an example of quotient of powers, Juvenette.
I put 4 to the 9 and 4 to the 7.
Very good. Did anybody use a variable like x? Kyla, what'd you use?
I said y over 5, y to the 5th power over y to the 5th.
Very good. I said x to the 8th over x to the 6th. And if we were to solve them, could you solve it? What do you do to your exponents? You subtract them. So I got x to the 2nd power here. All right, very good. Now we need power of powers. So I'm going to be looking to Kyla and Trey. We need power of powers. And I'll give you a hint. It will always have parentheses. Power of powers. Kyla?
Negative 7 to the 3rd power, but the negative 7 is in parentheses and 3 is on the outside.
It is, but then you have to raise that power to another power. Okay, so you're really close. It would be something along the lines of 6 to the 2nd power, and then you raise that to another power. Okay, and the first exponent, remember, would go inside the parentheses. So tomorrow on your test, I'm going to ask you to give me an example of each of these properties and to solve them. Could you do that? Do you think you could do that? These 3 questions are going to be worth 10 points tomorrow on your test. Or 12 points, 12 points. It's going to be worth 12 points total. All right, if I were to solve number 3, what would I have gotten for my answer? 6 to the 6th power. Very good. Okay. 6 to the 6th power. All right. So now I'm going to come back to Trey. I'm going to ask you this question. All 3 of these properties, in order to be able to use any of these 3 properties, the exponents must have the same what? Write it down. The exponents must have the same what? In order to be able to do product of powers, quotient of powers, or even power of powers, you have to have the same. Y'all can work together. What do you think, Trey? It is the same base. Okay? They all have to have the same base. Very good. Okay, so now we're getting into the realm of actually doing product of powers, quotient of powers, and power of powers. It's all going to be in one section. Okay, all going to be in one section. Go ahead and simplify this. Your directions tomorrow will say, write your answer as a power. All right, so you're off the hook there. You don't actually have to solve it. No. Mickey, can you save him? What'd you get? No. All right, Emma, what'd you get?
Negative 5, 18.
Yes, okay. So when it's multiplication, I must add my exponents. And Emma, I can't quite see your desk from here. Did you leave it in parentheses? Okay. So one of the main things that will really, really hurt you tomorrow is if you forget, when are you supposed to add your exponents? When are you supposed to subtract them? When are you supposed to multiply them? If you're multiplying exponents that have the same base, that means you would add the exponents together. Okay, so now let's do this next problem. Go ahead and simplify this one. And what'd you get?
A to the 4th.
Yes. Wait a second. All I see is 4 plus 2 over 3. That would have been 3. There's an understood 1 here next to the A. Very good. So now A to the 7th over A to the 3rd is A to the 4th power. So just don't forget those understood exponents. Number 7. Okay, number 7. Let's go ahead and solve number 7. We'll go to Isabel.
I got y to the 25th power.
Yes, ma'am. Y to the 25th power. We multiply. So I saw some people adding power of powers yesterday. Remember, power raised to another power, we multiply. Y to the 25th power. Number 8. Okay, negative 8 squared. What would that one be? Yes. Okay, first one today. Got it on the first try. Why is it negative 64, not positive 64, Darcy?
Because you keep the negative sign of negative 8.
Yes, and there's no parentheses, right? There's no parentheses around negative 8. Good job. All right, very well done. All right, let's look at number 9 while we do their points. I do want to see step 2 for number 9 and then your answer. So once you evaluate what's inside the absolute value bars, what do you get? And then evaluate. All right, so I want to see 2 steps here. Okay, what'd you get for step 2? You don't know how to, what? Can anybody help him out? Maddox? No. Okay, what would be step 2? When I evaluate what's inside, negative 2 squared. What's negative 2 squared like it's written? It's negative 4. All right, Emma, what'd you get for your answer? Yep, it's 4. Okay, so you evaluate what's inside. Why do you think step 2 is important? Because technically, if you took the absolute value of 4, it would be 4 also, but you still didn't do it right because negative 2 squared written this way is negative 4. On your test tomorrow, I'm going to ask you to show that step. Okay, so even if you got 4, if you didn't write negative 4 inside the absolute value bars, you would lose points for that. Okay, all right, so that's number 9. All right, moving on. Okay, you have 3 questions in the review section of your test tomorrow. I've given you an example. It's not the topic on your test tomorrow, but it's very similar. And I'm going to ask you to write the linear function that relates y to x. Write the linear function that relates y to x. You guys remember a linear function was the same pretty much as a linear equation. And an equation must be written in, what did you say, Addison? Y equals mx plus b. So in order to write this equation, what 2 pieces of information do you need to know? Slope and y-intercept. Can you use that table of values? Absolutely. All right, so that's what you should be doing right now. Okay, did you find the slope?
Yes.
Pearson, did you find the slope? Working on it? Okay, so your equation should have been y equals 3x because you pulled out 2 ordered pairs and you did your x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, now I'm going to, because we're running low on time, okay, I'm going to explain to you. Pay attention. Stop talking. Okay? I'm going to ask you 2 other questions in this section. I'm going to ask you to interpret the slope. This is what you're interpreting here. Remember, this is rise over run, which is y over x. What did my y value stand for in this problem? What did it stand for?
Minutes.
Minutes. What did my x value stand for? Burritos. Okay? So, can you put that into a sentence?
Yes.
it would take 3 minutes to make one burrito. Perfect. That gets you 5 points or 4 points on your test tomorrow. Okay? Now, for the y-intercept, that's the ordered pair that told you the y-intercept was 0. After 0 minutes, you would have made no burritos. Okay? Something along those lines. So, your interpretations will be a question each, and then your equation will also be a question. All right, let's look at the next slide. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 questions on your test tomorrow that says evaluate or give the value of y. What is the value of y given the value of x? So here I've given you an equation. I need you to make your substitution and tell me what y equals. Okay, so when we make our substitution here, it would be negative 20 minus 2, which is negative 22. All right, very good. Okay, and that pretty much covers everything that you need to know for your test tomorrow. Obviously, there are quite a few points with product or questions, product of powers, quotient of powers, power of powers, and that type of thing. But this really should give you a good idea of what to expect for your test tomorrow.